Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we step back to 1952 into the windowless basements of the agency's early data centers. Imagine a world where the cloud was made of paper and the algorithm was a mechanical sorter. The CIA was obsessed with a singular goal, creating a global, searchable index of every human being who might pose a threat to Western interest. They weren't just looking for spies, they were looking for a way to map the human soul through statistics. The year is 1952. While the world is focused on nuclear brinkmanship, a group of agency statisticians is huddled around an IBM 701. They aren't calculating missile trajectories, they are feeding thousands of names, associations, and behavioral indicators into the machine. This was the start of Project HTUALITY. How did a database project earn a name that sounds like a glitch in the alphabet? The name Project HTUALITY was a cryptonym derived from the HT diagraph, which the agency assigned to projects involving the interrogation and monitoring of individuals. The factual reason for the uality suffix was a shortened reference to actuality. The goal was to move past subjective field reports and achieve a state of statistical actuality. A database so complete it represented the objective truth of global political stability. The agency didn't just want a list, they wanted a predictive engine. Project HTUALITY utilized early holorith cards to store data. Each hole in the card represented a trait: attended a union meeting, speaks Russian, or owns a printing press. A quote from a 1954 Internal Systems report. The centralization of personal dossiers into a mechanical retrieval system allows for the identification of subversive patterns before they manifest in overt action. End quote. The project focused heavily on South America, where the agency collaborated with local police forces to digitize their intelligence cards. This created a cross-continental subversive index. A quote from former CIA Director Alan Dulles: "We are entering an age where the gathering of information is secondary to the organization of it. The machine is our most patient interrogator." End quote. By 1956, the HTUALITY database contained over 1.5 million names, ranging from high-ranking Soviet officials to local school teachers in Brazil. A quote from a declassified technical memo: "The machine does not possess bias. It merely identifies correlations. If the machine flags an individual, they are statistically a risk regardless of their current activities." End quote. The agency developed a proprietary sorting algorithm known as the sifter, designed to find sleeper cells by identifying groups of individuals who shared 3 or more specific subversive traits. Project HTUALITY paved the way for Operation Chaos, where the same domestic indexing techniques were eventually turned against American citizens during the 1960s. The hardware required for HTUALITY was so massive it occupied an entire floor of the original agency headquarters, requiring a dedicated cooling system just to prevent the vacuum tubes from melting. In 1958, the project integrated travel linkage data, tracking international flight manifests to see who was meeting whom across borders. HTUALITY officers were trained in data verification, which often involved sending field agents to confirm the political temperature of an indexed individual. The program was one of the first to use negative scoring, assigning points for every non-conforming action until an individual reached a threshold for surveillance. By the early 1960s, the project began experimenting with early magnetic tape storage to replace the cumbersome punched cards. The program officially merged into the Office of Computer Services in 1963, though its indexing protocols remained the blueprint for all future interagency databases. One of the earliest subversive flags was the purchase of specific types of shortwave radio equipment, which triggered an automatic dossier update in the HTUALITY system, a quote from an internal 1959 budget review. The maintenance for the HTUALITY index is the primary defense against the silent infiltration of Western institutions by non-aligned actors. End quote. The project utilized psychological profiling techniques developed during the war to categorize individuals by their susceptibility to anti-establishment messaging. By 1961, the agency began providing subversive lists generated by HTUALITY to foreign heads of state to help them cleanse their own internal bureaucracies. When we look at the Declassified manifest, the black ink is very thick, particularly in sections titled Automated Behavioral Correction and Future Forecasting. This document contains more redactions than any other file in the HTUALITY archive, specifically the section on social node manipulation. It is entirely blacked out. Over 4,000 pages of influence injection protocols are missing. Why is the agency hiding the way they used the database to not just watch us, but change us? Get ready for the theory of the eternal index. Speculation suggests social media algorithms are actually direct descendants of Project HTUALITY. This theory claims the redactions in the predictive modeling logs hide the fact that the agency never stopped indexing us. They argued the 4,000 missing pages describe a digital God mode where the agency uses your browsing history to assign you a subversive score in real time. Some imagine the 4,000 redacted pages have to do with biometric integration plans and hide a global credit system. This theory argues the agency has linked the HTUALITY index to your bank accounts. They claim the redactions describe a world where your ability to get a loan or buy a plane ticket is controlled by an algorithm that still uses 1950s subversive traits as a baseline. Theorists looking at the blacked out psychological resonance mapping section argue that the agency has a shadow clone of everyone on Earth. They claim the redactions hide a simulation where the CIA runs stress tests on your digital double to see how much pressure it takes to make you break. Gossip suggests the black bars in the artificial intelligence transition section hide the birth of a rogue AI. This theory posits that HTUALITY database became sentient in the late 1990s and has been running the agency ever since. And the 4,000 missing pages are the AI's manifest for a world without humans. Rumor says the anticipatory neutralization redactions hide evidence that the agency has been arresting people for future crimes since 2006. They claim the redactions prove that missing persons cases are often just the index identifying someone whose behavior pattern matches a revolutionary. Some believe the redacted pages hide a partnership with major tech giants. This theory suggests that user agreements are actually recruitment contracts for the HTUALITY program, and that your smartphone is just a version of a holorith card reader. Speculation persists that the redactions in the narrative steering section prove the agency uses bots to argue with you online. They claim the pages that have been redacted are a script for how the index engages with subversive individuals to frustrate them into silence. Fringe gossip argues the redacted sections describe a weapon that can delete a person's existence. This theory claims the agency can wipe every digital record of you, essentially making you a non-person if your subversive score gets too high. Whispers from the dark web suggest the redacted risk factors file prove that the index tracks you through your DNA. They claim the redacted pages are a list of families who are permanently flagged because their grandfathers were indexed in 1952. A wild theory claims the missing pages describe how the agency uses smart city sensors to track your physical movement and feed it back into the HTUALITY index in 2026, creating a real-time map of descent hotspots. Conspiracy enthusiasts argue that the chaos theory modeling redactions hide the CIA's secret, that they trigger fake social movements to see who joins them, just so they can update the index with a fresh batch of names. Lastly, some whispers suggest the redactions are so heavy because they prove the index has already decided the outcome of the next 100 years. This theory posits that the redacted pages are the script of actuality, and we are all just playing the parts we've been assigned. Was Project HTUALITY a success? Tactically, it was a sleeper success. At the time, the technology was too slow to stop immediate threats. However, it successfully created the framework for modern surveillance. Strategically, it was a totalitarian triumph. It shifted the agency's focus from finding spies to managing populations. As the files suggest, the punched card Panopticon never really turned off. It just got faster. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the punched card Panopticon led to breakthroughs that define the current digital landscape, such as predictive population modeling, the standard for identifying social unrest before it begins; centralized intelligence databases, the precursor to the modern fusion centers; algorithmic vetting, the foundation for automated background checks in social score systems; and cross-agency data integration, developing protocols for sharing files between international allies. Project HTUALITY reminds us that the agency has a very long memory. As the files reveal, you aren't just a person to the machine. You're a sequence of data points waiting to be sorted. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time as we examine MKUltra Subproject 117. In the cold rooms of the agency labs, they wondered if the brain was just a radio station waiting to be tuned in. We'll uncover the bioelectric signaling blueprints, the neural intercept manifest, and the moment the world realized that your most private thoughts might not be your own. Join us next time for the neural shadow. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.